snow across Scotland, gale force winds, temperatures dropping to -8 in places. That's what we're re-looking at for the next 72 hours. And if you've been experiencing mild, damp conditions this week, you are about to understand why that S all changing. Right now, the weather across the United Kingdom is split. The contrast couldn't be more stark. And I know this because conditions are varying considerably from region to region. The Channel Islands saw winds and rain this afternoon worth of a weather warning. That is how unsettled the Atlantic air has been. Meanwhile, across much of England and Wales, you are dealing with mild temperatures, 6 to 10 degrees Celsius. Damp, rather grey. For those in southern England, temperatures have been hovering around 10 degrees. Not particularly cold for January, but relentless rain and mud. That extended mild spell is about to shift. Compare that to what is happening further north. Scotland has already seen the first taste of what is coming. Temperatures have dropped. The cold air is sitting there, waiting. And that S, the key to understanding this weak S pattern. 2 batches of rain are moving northwards today. The first one is crossing central and northern Scotland with a brisk wind, a little hill snow as well. Showers are grazing western Scotland and the far east of Northern Ireland. Southern Scotland, northern England, the Midlands, and central and northern Wales are seeing dry skies at the moment. A little rain across Norfolk. But more persistent rain and a strong wind are returning across central and southern areas of England and Wales, pushing in through the early hours of this morning. By mid-morning, that rain will have reached much of Wales as well as the Midlands. Through the afternoon, northern England and Northern Ireland will see it. By mid-afternoon, it reaches the central belt of Scotland. Showers will follow. They'll be blustery. Rain becomes confined to the northeast of Scotland with a strong wind there. Some drier skies, though, across the northwest of Scotland. Temperatures today across the northwest of Scotland will be 7 or 8 degrees Celsius, 11 or 12 across central and southern areas. But watch out for some heavy downpours through the afternoon and into evening time with that strong and blustery wind. No one is immune to that wet weather today. And then the rain warning kicks in for central and eastern areas of Scotland through this evening and overnight. And the reason why is that we'll continue to see rain piling in from the southeast through tonight into tomorrow as well as Friday. Some high rainfall totals are likely here. Elsewhere, those showers will band together through this evening into the early hours of Thursday morning. Low pressure sits towards the west and that cloud and rain just swirls round it. The winds will be a feature of the weather into Thursday across eastern parts of Scotland as well as England. And that rain continues to pile up, particularly across the Cairngorms as well as the Grampians, and turning to snow over the highest mountains through into Thursday morning, and then more so at lower levels, still at elevation, through the day and into Friday. Now, let's talk about what this means in practical terms. Because this isn't just about numbers on a chart. This is about rainfall accumulation that could cause flooding. The warning zone covers much of the Grampians and extends further north as well as east. Slow-moving bands of rain extending across the country. Above around 230 metres, we're re-looking at 80 to 120 millimetres of rain. But it will turn increasingly to snow as we head through Friday with wintry showers to follow into the weekend. Thursday morning looks like this. More persistent rain across central and eastern areas. Not a particularly cold start to the day, but unpleasant for many. Showers further west. Again, that wind will be a feature of the weather as we head through Thursday morning into the afternoon. The rain continues to fall, so the risk of some flooding as the air becomes steadily colder. We'll see snow above around 300 to 400 metres, and those showers will be slow-moving across Northern Ireland, England and Wales. For those in Scotland already dealing with the worst of it, this isn't a surprise. You've seen this pattern before. But the persistence is what makes this notable. It has not just one system moving through. It has multiple bands of rain in the same area over an extended period. That S when you get the accumulation that causes problems. The air turns steadily colder through into Saturday. Elsewhere, low pressure sits towards the southwest and that will produce some strong winds. So it's worth noting that if you are out and about through the latter part of the week. Now, I want to address something directly. Many of you have been waiting for proper winter weather, East Anglia in particular. You've had rather boring conditions in recent weeks, mild temperatures, grey skies, not much to write home about. This pattern shift has potential, but I'm not going to promise widespread snow across the lowlands until we see how these systems develop. The forecast models have been showing cold air pushing in from the east for over a week now. Each day, the timing shifts, the intensity moderates. That is not unusual for this range. The cold plunge in the eastern United States is strengthening the jet stream. But whether that translates to sustained easterly winds across the UK or whether it shoots through the Mediterranean causing low pressure there with high pressure over Scandinavia, that S still being resolved in the models. I've examined the latest runs from the UK Met Office model, the ECMWF, and the GFS. Their S agreement on the broad pattern, low pressure to the west, colder air trying to push in from the east, but the details, the exact positioning, the timing, that S where we see variation. And at 5 to 7 days out, that S expected, what we can say with high confidence is this: Scotland will see snow. The question isn't if, it S, how much, and at what elevation. Initially, it S the higher ground, the Cairngorms, the Grampians, the Highlands. Snow above 300 to 400 metres through Thursday and Friday. As we move into the weekend and the air gets colder, that snow level drops. 200 metres, perhaps lower in some areas. For northern England, the Pennines will see snow. Again, elevation matters. The tops will see it first. Whether it comes down to lower levels depends on how cold the air gets and how much moisture is available. The southern Pennines were seeing rain this morning. As this pattern develops, some areas in the hills are already reporting sleet starting. That is how quickly this transition is happening. Wales, particularly North Wales and Snowdonia, you are in line for snow as well. Right now across Wales, you are dealing with heavy rain. That changes as we move through the week. The mild Atlantic air gets displaced by colder air from the continent. Rain turns to sleet, then snow on higher ground. For the Midlands, this is where it gets uncertain. Birmingham and surroundings have been experiencing temperatures around 7 degrees. Rather dull. That changes next week as colder air moves in. But whether you see snow or just cold rain, that depends on the exact track of these systems. I am not going to speculate beyond saying it will feel significantly colder than it has been. The southeast and southwest, you are least likely to see snow. Cornwall, Devon, Somerset have been mild and damp, temperatures near double figures. That mildness persists longer in the southwest than anywhere else. You might see a brief cold spell, but sustained snow in those areas looks unlikely with this pattern. Now, the question many of you are asking, is this the beast from the east Mark II? No, it's not. Let me be clear about that. The beast from the east in 2018 was a Siberian air mass, minus 14 Celsius in places, significant snow even in lowland areas, sustained easterly winds for days. That was an exceptional event. This pattern has some similarities, cold air from the east. But the intensity, the duration, the extent of the cold, it's not at that level. Some of you remember the winter of 1962 to 63, the big freeze, snow from Boxing Day through to March. Or the winter of 2010. December was the coldest in over 100 years. Those were prolonged cold spells. This is a shorter duration event. Cold air for a few days, perhaps a week, then it moderates again. That doesn't mean it's not significant. It is, particularly for Scotland where the rainfall and then snowfall totals could cause disruption. But context matters. UV seen worse. This is winter weather. It S what January is supposed to bring occasionally. Let me talk about the practical implications. First, flooding. The Environment Agency and SEPA, that S the Scottish Environment Protection Agency, have flood warnings in place. If you are in central or eastern Scotland, monitor those warnings. Rivers will rise. Surface water flooding is possible with these rainfall totals. Drains can cope with 80 to 120 millimetres in a short period, especially if the ground is already saturated. Second, travel disruption. Friday and into the weekend, if you are travelling through Scotland or Northern England, expect delays. The A9, the M74, the M6 through the Lake District, these routes could see difficult conditions, snow on higher routes, strong winds, reduced visibility. If you can delay non-essential travel, consider it. If you must travel, check conditions before you leave. Don't rely on your sat-nav. Check Traffic Scotland or Highways England for real-time updates. Third, preparation at home. For those in Scotland, you know the drill. Make sure you've got supplies, bread, milk, essentials. Not because you'll be snowed in for weeks, but because it's sensible to have a few days' worth if travel becomes difficult. Check your heating, make sure it's working properly. If you are on oil or LPG, check your tank levels. For those in areas that don't see snow often, southern England in particular, don't panic, but do be aware. If we do get a cold snap and some snow, even a few centimetres can cause disruption because the infrastructure isn't set up for it the way it is further north. Schools might close, roads want to be gritted as thoroughly. If it happens, work from home if you can. Fourth, elderly relatives and neighbours. This is important. Check on them, make sure they rewarm, make sure they have what they need. Temperature swings, and we've had quite a few recently, affect older people more. One day 12 degrees, next day 3, then back up again. People have been poorly for weeks across the south. Sinus trouble, headaches. That back and forth ends when sustained cold moves in. but that doesn't mean it is easier. Consistent cold requires consistent heating. Make sure vulnerable people are managing. Fifth, for those with livestock or who work outdoors, plan accordingly. Farmers in Scotland, you're already dealing with this. But if you are further south and you're not used to it, cold wind and rain is miserable to work in, even if there is no snow. Layer up. Waterproofs. Check animals have shelter and water that isn't frozen. Now, looking beyond this week, what happens after this cold spell? The models suggest it won't last. By the middle to end of next week, we read back to a more typical Atlantic pattern. Low pressure from the west, milder air, rain rather than snow. That's the nature of British winters. We done to get prolonged cold the way Scandinavia or Russia does. We read too far into the Atlantic. The Gulf Stream influence is too strong. We get brief incursions of cold air, then it gets pushed out again. Some of you are frustrated by that. You want proper winter, I understand. But geography is geography. We are an island in the Atlantic. Our climate is maritime. Mild and wet is the default. Cold and dry is the exception. For those who are sick of winter and just want spring, you are not alone. January and February are the dark months. Short days, grey skies, mud and filth if you are in rural areas. It's relentless. But we are past the winter solstice. Days are getting longer. By 6 weeks from now, we'll be into March. Daffodils will be coming up. It passes. Right, let me summarize the key points. Rain continues across Scotland today and into tonight. Heavy at times. A rain warning is in place for central and eastern Scotland. That rain turns to snow on higher ground, initially above 300 to 400 metres, then lower as the air gets colder. By the weekend, significant snowfall is possible in the Scottish mountains, perhaps as low as 200 metres in places. Northern England, the Pennines will see snow on higher ground. Wales, particularly Snowdonia, similar. The Midlands, you'll feel the cold, but snow is uncertain. Depends on exact system tracks. The south, you are least likely to see snow, but it will turn colder. Flooding is a risk in central and eastern Scotland. Monitor warnings from SEPA. Travel disruption is likely Friday and into the weekend, particularly on higher routes in Scotland and northern England. Prepare accordingly. Check on vulnerable people. Don't panic, but don't be complacent either. This isn't the beast from the east. It's not the big freeze. It is a cold spell. Significant for some areas, particularly Scotland. Less so for others. Context matters. You've seen this before. You'll see it again. The pattern doesn't last. By the end of next week, we back to Atlantic influence. Milder, wetter, more typical for this time of year. If you want more detailed information, check the Met Office website. They have regional breakdowns, rainfall accumulation maps, snow level forecasts. The information is there. Use it, and remember, forecasts at this range have uncertainty. What I've told you is based on the most likely scenario from current model runs, but weather is chaotic. Small changes in initial conditions lead to big changes in outcomes. That's why we update forecasts daily. Check back tomorrow, see if anything has changed. That's the situation as it stands this Wednesday morning. Cold air pushing in, rain turning to snow in places, Scotland seeing the worst of it, Northern England and Wales affected, the Midlands and South feeling colder but less disruption. Stay safe, check on those who need it, monitor warnings, plan ahead, and don't let the media scare you. This is winter. It's what happens. We'll get through it like